Hi everybody, this is Analytical Chick. I'm going to cover the MAGA Kids incident. There's a lot to unpack on this. This is probably going to end up being a long video. I'll try to make it as short as possible. So, start out. So, there were three groups. There were three groups at the incident. One of the groups was the Hebrew Israelites from the House of Israel. If you want to learn more about specifically background information on them, which I recommend, Vocab Malone is a channel that this is actually what he covers. He covers Hebrew Israelites, Muslims, Christianity. He's kind of like a comparative religion guy. He's a Christian. I actually watch him sometimes for his coverage of Muslim stuff. He works with David Wood, who is a much more subscribed to channel. David Wood, I did a video about and he commented on it. He spoke at the anti-Sarsour march that Pamela Geller created or put together or whatever. That was in May of 2017. So he did a series with Vocab Malone and another YouTuber, What Do You Mean? So then I ended up subbing to those guys. Anyway, Vocab Malone, out of the group, that's kind of his thing, is comparative religion, whereas some of the other guys, and I think he even wrote a book about Hebrew Israelites, so he really knows about this. Like, this is really one of his areas of expertise. So I'm going to link in the description. He did a stream for like an hour and 26 minutes, so if you are interested, you may want to watch that. Alright, so I found this, the Indigenous Peoples March. So it says 8 a.m. gathered in prayer, at another location. 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. they were at the rally, which was at the Lincoln Memorial. Now, statement from, yeah, this is what I want. Alright, so the Catholic Junior put out a statement, and in it, he said he arrived at the Lincoln Memorial 4:30. They were supposed to be there by 5:30, so they were nice and early. So this is when this incident takes place. So I find it a little interesting that supposedly, I guess, this couldn't have been that big of a march, because their march was from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m., but we know from the Nick Sandman statement that this was like between 4:30 and 5:30, roughly, that this took place. So now, I don't know what people saw. Oops, forgot I have to switch over here. Right, I'm gonna switch over here. This video is an hour and 46 minutes, so if you hear people talking about the 2-hour video, that's what they mean. This guy. So this is Hebrew Israelites we know from Vocab Malone, from the House of Israel. You can learn more about their background information. They're yelling at the Indigenous Peoples March, and I think the kids were starting to gather in the background. Like he said, their buses were to pick them up at 5:30, so they were starting to get there between 4:30 and 5:30. You know, some of them were getting there early because they didn't want to be late. Other ones were probably cutting it close. I remember when I was in high school, I would have been one of the kids at the last minute. So we're not going to watch this whole thing. So here we have, they are yelling back and forth at Indians. This point, a woman comes up. So he gets into a yelling match with these women, and he's telling them, like, you don't know how to listen to a man. This guy comes in and he says he's a historian, and he's trying to prove them wrong because they pull stuff out of their you-know-where. And jumping. So I guess it's 7 minutes in this video. You can already hear the drums in the background, but I hadn't heard that before. I like jumped around the first half, and then it gets juicy around an hour. See, so he's still yelling at the woman. I think the woman was from the indigenous march. Jump again. Still going back and forth with the women, making sexist comments. Reading from a Bible. One thing that's interesting, at one point, the one guy says, oh, give me... And then he names off a verse from Romans, and I asked Vocab Malone about this, and he answered me on Twitter. I found that interesting because these guys call themselves Israelites. They claim they're like some sort of Hebrew Israelites. They claim they're some sort of lost tribe of Judaism. But they believe in basically Christianity. They believe in the New Testament. So that I didn't know, but I checked with Vocab Malone on Twitter, and he confirmed that for me. He was like, yeah, they're Messianic. Let's jump again. Ah, okay. So this is the Native American march that are getting in the circle, and they're like doing this thing. Another thing, oh, you just heard St. Luke chapter. Again, they're using the New Testament. Another thing that I wanted to say, as someone who lives in New York City, I'm familiar with, like, this happens in, usually in Manhattan or in parks, sometimes in, like, the park in Queens. It can get very busy. You have a bunch of different groups, and you can have, like, this kind of environment. Like, you'll have a group of people who's, like, yelling and starting arguments with everyone around them. This is something that's very normal to see in New York City, and probably in Washington, D.C. as well. This is probably very normal, and there's indication that these guys go to this spot a lot and perhaps like know what's going on. So like jump through until we get. I'm gonna be jumping through this because obviously it's an hour long. We're not gonna watch the whole thing straight through. So this is the Indian people like doing this like thing in a circle, jumping again. Someone is with a bullhorn. I'm not sure which group they're from. So, and actually, at this point, I don't think the video has even shown the kids. So, it's probably not even, like the guy said he got the Catholic school kid that ended up, that the media went after him. He said he got there at 4:30. He was probably one of the first ones there because if their buses, they were told to get there 5:30 for their buses. I don't know about you, but I think most high school kids are gonna be doing as much touristing as they can, and they're gonna get there towards the last minute. And there's a lot more kids who sort of come in towards the end of it. Let's see, jumping. jumping. See, and all these people that they're filming in the background, those are the indigenous march people, and there's like 4 or 5 of these Hebrew Israelites. Interesting. So that guy that I just paused it. That guy that was banging the drum is the same one that bangs the drum in the kid's face later on. So they're already there. A lot of F-bombing. So it looks like at this point the Catholic school kids are starting to gather in there. There's something I wanted to. Oh, over here. The media had stated that the Hebrew Israelites were young black men preaching the Bible, and I took a screenshot at one point. You can probably start to notice this in the video. I hope you can see my cursor, but like right here, this guy has gray hairs in his beard, and this guy has gray hairs in his beard. These men have to be at least 35 years old, probably like early 40s, to have that much gray in their beards, in my experience. Alright, going back to the video. So, I mean, and here's the thing, is like high school kids probably like they wouldn't understand like how absolutely crazy some people can be like in an inner city type environment. And you can even see like later on in the video how shocked they start to get when the rhetoric gets like really, what is crazy if you think about it. Like if you personally grew up in a suburban area, like people don't like just come in and like a Caucasian kid who's like 15, 17. Some of these kids look like they're probably freshmen. So they're probably like 14 years old. I believe it was a high school. So some of these kids are like really young, like 14 when you grew up in like an environment where you don't interact with this stuff. Like if you're 14 and you grew up in that environment and like somebody starts calling you like cracker, you're gonna be like shocked. Now you see this guy on this like weird skateboard with let me pause. Oh. Okay, so that's actually what I wanted to say. The quote where he says, "Get too close, you're gonna get your you-know-what punished." And I pause. They're talking to this guy on this like balance board skateboard type thing. So he is apparently not with them, probably not with the Indian or Native American march either. And that's one thing is like my input from living in a place like New York City. you can, like, sometimes when you go into, like, especially, like, this sort of thing happens in parts of Central Park, it can get really clogged up with different groups, and, you know, you'll have people, like, rollerblading and skateboarding, and you know, everybody's mixed in together, and, like, for this, if you're watching this, it's kind of even hard to tell, like, which group, you know, what group are people with, and that's, you know, kind of confusing. Oh yes, they're lovely calling these children lovely names, lovely names. See, he continues. I just jumped ahead, I think, 5 minutes, and he's still muttering at this skateboarder guy that, like, he's gonna beat him up and this and that. So literally, these guys are just the whole live stream just yelling at people. They're very angry. And there's girls there, so you see how there's so many different groups. I don't think they're probably also with the people keep saying, oh, the March for Life was there. I don't think the March for Life was right in that exact area, but it was in Washington, D.C., so there were probably a lot of people around. I believe the march had already ended, because go back to Firefox here. What he says here was that they did the march, and then so somewhere in here, or maybe somewhere else, I heard that basically the kids went to the March for Life, and then they got to, like, do touristiness. Oh, here we go. Let's see. We had been attending the March for Life rally, and then had been split up into small groups to do sightseeing. Right, hit this line. All right. Let's go back to the video. Oh, I believe it gets juicy right around here. He's still talking about that guy on the uni skateboard thingy. You see how he turns around and he actually yells at the Catholic school kids who were minding their own business, and he had previously been yelling at the Indian March. The Indian March, you have, the live stream is coming from the Black Hebrew Israelites, who are actually like total troublemakers, but they streamed this, and, you know, they had no qualms about it. So they're like basically in between the kids. The kids are on the steps behind them, and you see he just turned around and looked at the kids. And in front of him is the Native Peoples March. And he's calling them incest babies. There's... You go down comments. Showing... Somebody did... Here, yeah, here we go. I was looking for... There's better ones of that where people say what the timestamps are. Jump. So this is when the kids were already like starting to do their chants. They're getting yelled at by the Hebrew Israelites, and since their buses are coming at 5:30, it's getting closer to 5:30. So more and more of them are getting there because they were told to meet on the steps 5:30 for their bus. And now you can hear the guy with the drum coming in. So there were 5 Hebrew Israelites. The media keeps saying 4. But they're not really surrounded. They're minding their own business on the steps. And these guys are in the middle, and they're the ones that are there instigating with everyone, not just the kids. Here we go. Go back just a tad. Drumming guy is about to come in. I don't know why the kids were squatting. When he says that, I think he's talking to his stream because they are Hebrew Israelites, House of Israel. So when he says da 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 Israel, I originally was thinking he was talking to one of the guys in his group, but then I realized that he's probably speaking to the viewers of his live stream. Oh, he says, "Here come Gad, here come Gad." Now, I just learned from Vocab Malone's stream, Gad is what they call, I was thinking he knew the guy's name, but Gad is what they call Native American. I'm gonna switch over to another stream in a second, but yeah, this is what I wanted to get in. They all just kind of came in as a group. The indigenous march. You see, they had previously been before or in front of the Black Hebrew Israelites, but what they did was they swooped around and they came in as a group into the middle of between the Hebrew, when they had previously been in front of the Hebrew Israelites who were between the kids, and then they went and got in the middle of that. So the kids at this point are probably thinking like, oh, you know, that since they were doing their school chants, and the guys were drumming to their school chants, they're like, oh, they're coming over to like have fun with us, sort of thing. Because remember, these are innocent high school kids from like suburbs or rural areas. Like, they're not used to everyone attacking them. That's not their mindset. So one group did. They're innocent enough to think that, like, if a second group is around, they're probably... I mean, I know this from, like, some of the statements that have been released from the kids. Like, I already showed you. I have one up over on Firefox. Yeah. And you can see the kids are having fun, getting excited, like, oh, yeah, they're banging the drums to the, you know, and they're having fun. And they're thinking that they're there to, like, basically have fun with the youth energy. You know, they're playing up to the cameras. They're not being mocking. They're just kind of, like, being silly and having fun. Now, this is right here where the guy was in the guy's face. So this is somebody else's camera. I probably just jumped back maybe 30 seconds a minute in time, I think. Maybe not. I'm not sure. But you can see the kids' faces here, like, even more having fun. Now, this guy appears to be with the people who just came in. And you see they came in with cameras. The kids are still, like, having fun. They think, like, oh, they're, you know, like, joining them to have fun with them because they were doing chants and they have the drum, and they have this innocent mindset at this point. And the kids are still smiling and having all kinds of fun. Hey, hey. And this is where you start to see, I'm going to unpause in a second, but this is like right here is where I'm starting to see the kids are starting to look concerned. When the guy actually kind of stops and gets in front of the one guy, first they're kind of smiling, but that doesn't last very long. And then they start to, you'll see their eyes are darting, they're looking around at each other. You see, like, this guy behind, like, he's starting to look very worried. Some of the other guys, like, they're still having kind of a little bit of fun, but they're starting to look at each other. And eventually you're going to hear one of them kind of yells out, like, what is going on? That's at, I think about a minute from now in the live stream. Like, this young kid he looks very young. He looks like he should be in 8th grade, so he's probably a freshman. He's starting to almost have, like, a panicked look on his face. You can see like all these guys behind, like they're still kind of smiling, but it's like you could see like they're starting to tense up, like nervousness going on. Like you're seeing like right there his smile is fading. They're starting to look around at each other. The smiling, the rambunctiousness is calming down. And you can even see this guy who's the subject. He's starting to look around as well. Like, does anybody know what's going on here? What is going on? Like I said. Oh, I didn't even know it was twice. She's with the natives march, basically accusing them of mob mentality when they just circled around and came in and got in their face. This guy with the camera who's looking around, I don't think he's with the kids. I think he's with the natives. And this kid, what's his name? I have it over here on Firefox. Nick Sandman. You can see like he's blinking a lot, and his facial expression is really looking perplexed at this point. Let's go back to here. A lot to unpack, like I said. Yeah, I'm already at a half an hour. Sorry, guys. Left-wing journalist. That's what the guy with the beard is now with the kids. He's, like, clearly grown. That's probably a kid who's using his cell phone. Oops. I guess that was the end of that. And not all of the kids that are in this group, not all of them are from that school. So I was able to see later, going back to the reason why I switched to that one is you can't really see what happens in this one too much. The timeline. I'm not even sure who he's talking to. If he's telling the kids better not touch the natives, or if he's telling the natives not to touch. Like, the Hebrew Israelites are just yelling at everybody. You can see more and more people from the native group are coming in. So, yeah, he even said Gad stepped in front of us. Gad is what they call Native Americans, which I learned from Vocab Malone. Oh, so he's talking about the Catholic kids. I saw a comment somewhere that the Black Hebrew Israelites, I think it was, or maybe it was the Nuthin guy with the drum, was saying like more and more of the Catholic kids were coming. Well, yeah, because their bus was due to come at 5:30, so they were supposed to meet at a certain time. So as you can imagine, as it comes closer to the time when they're supposed to meet, more kids are going to be showing up because most kids are probably not going to cut their touristing short and come like an hour early. Now, yeah, so the Hebrew Israelites are like calling them like school shooters and stuff. Pretty soon they are told by their chaperone that it's time to go, so you hear them chanting, the kids, let's go home, let's go home. Jump again. Nope. Still there. All readers. Oh, there we go. There we go. So they're there. It, there we go. Let's go. They're clapping because their bus is there. They can finally get away from these stupid people that are insulting them. Let's go home. Let's go home. They all run off. Yes, it's a big cluster. It's a whole frigging school. There's probably like 50 kids per grade, maybe 2 classrooms. I don't know. I think they said like 50 to 70. I don't know kids, but I mean, I don't know if like all the kids go, if it's a trip that every single kid goes on, or if it's like some kids stay home because they don't want to or don't have the money. I guess if they're in a Catholic school. So, and one of the other things I wanted to show is the kids left and there's still a bunch of people in that area. So that's, and there's only 5 of the Black Hebrew Israelites. So I don't know if this is another group from the pro-life march, because it was right in that area, or if these are the indigenous people, but that's what I wanted to get to. So this is that closer up video I wanted to show you. Oh yeah, and this is specifically where they start asking, like, what's going on, what's going on. What is going on? I don't know what's going on. What is going on? And then the indigenous people who had barged in, even by the admission of the Black Hebrew Israelites, who said, Gad just got in between us. Gad is what, remember I told you, Vocab Malone mentioned in his stream, that Gad is essentially Native Americans. Here's an article. Apparently, this guy is an activist and he's tied to some, like, he did some lefty video and he's tied to, like, left-wing activism. So I was watching some of this. I'll link this in the description so you can watch it. And I'll also make an archive, hopefully, if I can, so that you can also watch it if it goes bye-bye. This is... Oh, this is just a video I haven't seen yet, actually. This is the Nuthin guy with the drum. He got on CNN. Speaking to CNN after which lies. We just saw how he walked in. He moved his group. He, like, literally led his group around into their faces. This is a cucky conservative article. They say Nathan Phillips lied, the media bought it, but then in the whole article, unfortunately, they sit there and apologize. Oh, they should have done this, da 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 da. You know, basically, like, half taking the left side. I don't know if Slate is leftist or rightist. I think they're leftist. So even the Native American claims he approached them to diffuse the argument with the black protesters, but in fact, he made things worse, and if so, then why the hell did he, like, literally get in this kid's face? A screen grab from the viral video. Yeah. I'll link this in the description as well. Also, Paul Joseph Watson did a video with all the tweets related to this. Let's see if I missed anything on Firefox that I wanted to cover. Oh, so Jake Tapper, shocker, but on the rare occasion that CNN is decent, it's usually through Jake Tapper. He released Nick Sandman's statement, but you can't really read it because it's small, so I googled and found it on CNN. So here's the statement. I will link that in the description. There's a lot to link in the description of this. Unfortunately, the Catholic Conference of Kentucky released this statement basically throwing the children under the bus. The kids. I mean, they're not really, like, children. So they released that on Saturday, and all of this happened on Friday, like 4:30 to 5:30ish p.m. So it doesn't say what time, but the very next day, they threw the kids under the bus. The diocese following, we condemn our students. The behavior is bad, bull crap. You know, which, I mean, people criticize them. I would recommend, there's a way to contact the school. Oh, I think here. Contact them, social media. I already sent them a message. Hopefully my readers can do this and everyone else can do this. Send them a message and, like, send them some of these videos that are, like, more full videos and be like, dude, you're throwing your children under the bus. We have to stick up for ourselves, for our own, for the right. The right has to stick up for the right. And I already went through this. The march was 10 to 6 at the Lincoln Memorial. I mean, this was clearly a much smaller march than, say, the March for Life or the Women's March, which took place on Saturday. And this is showing that these young black men were not young. They had gray hair. So I'll link all of this in the description. It's going to be a long video. Let me see. Yeah, we are at 46 minutes. Alright. Without further ado, we shall end the video. Thanks for stopping by my channel. I'll see you all next time.
People need to be awake and they need to be aware. They need to stand up against the stuff. People need to be awake. People need to be awake and they need to be aware. They need to stand up against this stuff.
And it's so politically engaged. And it's so politically engaged.